Okay, people, so now it's October 28, 2017, and I'm going to end it with this clip. This is it, right? Maybe I'll put this first and then everything else that follows, but at the end, it should be this. We'll see. So, what I'm trying to say is, I can't get too stressed out about Uncle John's paperwork, people, because I have a family I have to look after, right? And I got to make sure I have food in the wintertime. Regardless of whether it gets eaten up or not, it doesn't matter. I still need to have food because it gets cold, the hydros go up, the gas goes up, right? You know what I mean? And it gets really, really hard. So that's what I've been doing, people. I've been doing food prep. So we already got one box full of tomatoes in bags in the freezer as a box. As you can see, we've got this box going to be ready in the next, maybe 2 or 3 days. And then we've got the other box, right? So we've got lots and lots of tomatoes. And then, as you know, I'm working on walnuts. Right? It's a blessing, people. That's what I tell myself. It's a blessing. I went to the store, as you can see, and I priced out. Check this one out. Hold on. I priced out English walnuts in bulk, and they were charging $4.99 for 100 grams. $4.99 for 100 grams. And it takes 1,000 grams to make 2.2 pounds. That's how I understand it. So you do the math at $4.99 times 100 grams. That's crazy. Okay? I get this stuff for free. So anyway, this is our harvest this year compared to last year. And if you notice, if you go back into my videos and you look at last year's harvest, I had 40 cups full of plump walnut. The difference between processing them is when I husked these off with a knife, all I did was run them under some water and then let them dry. And look what happened. I got a bitter nut, not so much, because it dried out faster. And it just, the husk itself that remained on the shell permeated the shell and went into the nut itself. But that's okay. They're still edible. You just don't want as many, right? Because it has a slight bitter taste. And the tree didn't produce that much, in part because every second year they have mass production. Second year they kind of just go a little dormant, right? Plus last year winter was very, very cold. So like the plums didn't produce fruit, very few pears, very few apples. So besides that point, and then of course I'm doing horse chestnuts to make more Lucky Charms, which I still have hanging. And I still have other ones. Right? You can see. Because even though bad things happen, like for example, I sent a whole lot of Lucky Charms to the United States of America, right? To 2 individuals that profess themselves to be community activists. But at the end of the day, if you're not going to, I don't want to cut people up, people, but at the end of the day, if you're going to take the shit and basically fucking steal it, and use it for your own agenda, when it was given to you to give to the people, then what does that tell you? That tells you that they're not community activists. Doesn't mean that you have to stop doing what you're doing, and that's what I'm doing. I'm not going to stop what I'm doing. So as much as I don't want to do these things, because it gets arduous after a while, right? There's a purpose behind it. Obviously, Andre's walnut art is one of them. So I am going to continue, when I have time, to make Lucky Charms and other things with chest walnuts. I'm just rubbing coconut oil on them because I have coconut oil in the bag there. you have to rub them down, right? So these are from last year, and you can see they're holding up really, really nice. They've been hanging here for a year, people. Serious. Those are beautiful. I took them to the corner store. I asked him to have them out for me, and you know what he told me? No, he didn't want them because he was afraid everyone would steal them. I said, why would they steal Lucky Charms? He said, because they're small, and they're easy to steal, and they would like them. And I'm like, oh, okay. So that's why they're hanging here, because the guy at the store was too afraid to hang them up in his store, because he didn't want them to get stolen. He thought they'd be a magnet simply because they're small and they're easy to steal. So, anyway, that's what I'm doing. You can see I've got lots, and Andre and I are going to go get some more today, and I've got some more in the other room. And then after they dry, I just put them away, and then when I have time, I make things with them. Okay, and because I do food storage, right? You know, you want to stock up on things before winter. I would highly recommend these kind of drinks. You know, it doesn't have to be Tang per se, but, you know, these crystallized drinks with the vitamin C. In the event of an emergency, right? And you couldn't get to the grocery store because there was none. You know, natural disaster, that type of thing. But if you're really serious about prepping, and you want to be prepared for an emergency, and you want a cheap way of doing it, again, people, these are lemon peels that I processed into lemon candy. So every time you go to the pharmacy and you buy yourself a little bottle of vitamin C supplements, what you're probably eating is this in pill form. It doesn't take much to make lemon or orange peel candy. And I have another jar that I snack on, as well as my other kids. They'll just every now and then, right? To boost up your immune system. So, if you find lemons on sale, go off and buy a whole bunch. Take off the peels. Look online. Really, all you do is you boil them 3 times. Each time, drain the water, boil them 3 times, and then after the 4th time, you put in like 2 cups of sugar to 2 cups of water, and you boil it down. If you need to do it again, add another cup of sugar, another cup of water, boil it down. I prefer mine dehydrated, sorry. You don't even have to dehydrate them, but I make them for this way, right? So I dehydrate after the fact, and yeah, you're good to go. So, and then you got a couple of those. And you know, to be really honest with you, if you really were desperate, and you ran out of those things, and you were thirsty for some juice, you could simmer some of these in liquid and create a juice, just like I did with the dehydrated raspberries. Something to think about, people. And then you just throw your what do you call those things, lemons, after you take off the peel, into the freezer, and you just freeze them that way and use them as you need them, right? Here's some sunflower seeds from my sunflower. There's another one over there. And then I managed to find some more apples. They're in the bag outside. So I'm going to make myself one more batch of apple juice, because we're coming to the end of the season, and there's really not that many apples. I've noticed that there's hardly been any apples in all these little stores that, you know, produce stores. So these ones are a Macintosh, and then I've got something like 8 or 9 bags out on my porch, which I'm going to have to start working on like in the next day or 2, right? Making apple juice and canning the apple juice. I still have beef to do. I still have parsnip to do, which is not very much, and I have Swiss chard to do. Plus, I'm still working on a whole whack of walnuts. I got about another 400 walnuts. I have to take off the husk of 400 more of these. And then what I do is I dehydrate them, and I make ink powder, which can last up to 1,000 years. So, that will be all in relation to a future project that I'm working on, right, in terms of Andre's walnut art, promoting the nonprofit and that type of stuff. You know, macaroni is always a good staple to have. If you're going into long-term food storage, the best is spaghetti, because then you can fill up the whole can tight, you can put it away, and you can forget about it. And because it's this kind of stuff, you know, like the pasta, it will last forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever. Just keep the bugs out. So in this case, these cans are pretty good at keeping out moths. So, but for now, this is just for temporary storage. And then, because I've got the beets coming and I'm going to shred them, I'm just going to shred some carrots. So, you know, and then make a big bag, put them in the freezer. And then anytime you can find stuff like this, 99 cents for a head of cauliflower versus $2.49 or $3.58, you know, 99 cents. Doesn't take much to take off all that stuff. And then I guess you can blanch it and freeze it, right? I'm almost tempted just to clean it up, chop it up, and throw it in the fridge unblanched. I'm not sure. I'll look online. Of course, they'll say blanch it because it stops the enzymes from, you know, continuing on, or preserves food better for freezing. But this is cauliflower, so, you know, I'm not too worried about it. Okay, hold on. Okay, people. September 24th, 2017. So what I'm doing today is I'm working out in here, tidying it up a little bit, right? And here's those walnuts. Can you see? It's a big bucket full. So we're going to count those today. And I just want to point out, people, I don't know what it is with fucking people these days, but we got these people next door with their cameras. These people move in, and look what they got look what they got facing into my yard. Can you believe that? Like, what the fuck is that shit? Like, seriously, like, what the fuck is that shit? This is like straight up, I'm looking straight on to this, people. Like, you can just stand there and wave. They're trying to say they're looking down there. Like, what the fuck is down there? It's bullshit. I already asked them to move it. Like, that's not fair. Like, I don't know who these people are. Like, what gives them the right to put a fucking camera in my yard? Anyway, I am very, very mad about that situation there. Right? Because they're just standing there watching me. Well, sitting there watching. Right? Look how beautiful that is. Nice and clear. It's too bad I can't have fish in it, though. And then I'm going to harvest this stuff here. You can see I already did the kale. Okay, so what did I say? What day did I say it was, people? October 24th, 2017.
No, it's tiny too.
Anyway, you can see all this Dupo blocks. And these are the other ones. I also have bags of that, you know. So this is what I'm going to be doing, people.
Yeah, and this is the trailer.
Anyway, you can see. And sort out walnuts. This is what the raccoon did, right? Huh?
Just put in my car.
You're cleaning your car?
Yeah, just find it.
Why is there no pressure in the hose?
Huh?
Oh, okay.
It's on you now.
Huh?
It's on you.
Does it say record? Because the last time you did that, it wasn't recording.
Now it is.
Are you sure it says red there? It says REC record?
It is red.
Because when you did the pond, it didn't show. You can go show them the pond. And there's the color blue, right, for that little airplane. I told you there was more.
Yeah, and there's my cat Sparky.
Wow.
Yeah, and people, and there's a kind of spider in our yard today. So here's the pond. I can't go in the water. So the pond's going there. Too bad we don't have it. There's the waterfall. Okay. Or just go through the land. This is the pond. Let's get sure I showed you the time now. And here is... So I'm done over here. Oh, man. Hey, wow. This is the wishing well. I like wishing wells. Go back to now. Yeah, some peach flowers. Peach flowers is done. It's on you, Nana.
What?
It's already on you now.
Oh. What am I doing?
You tell the story now.
I tell the story?
Yeah.
Well, the city of Surrey has a problem with raccoons.
Yeah.
Yeah, they like to bust into sheds and storage rooms and ex-clubs and stuff like that. And when they get in there, they like to make a nest for their young. So what they do is they tear apart bags and they scatter everything around. And so these were washed, but because the mother wanted to make a nest, they all got ruined. So before winter kicks in, I'm washing them, because if you go to Value Village, you get a little bag of Dupo blocks, kind of like this stuff, and it's like $8 just for a small little bag. So, you know, I'm not throwing that out, people. Okay, you can turn it off now.
Goodbye, people.
Okay, people, so it's October 26, 2017. As I'm going through this paperwork here, you can see, doing black walnuts again too, right? It says Financial Information Act, 2006, 2007. So this is old. This is 10 years old. So you know these people are making more money. Report, Vancouver Island Health Authority. This is where, on the island, Victoria Island, right, where John is. This is just some, I'm telling you people, this is just some of the wages that goes into the healthcare system. And this is why people don't want to get involved, because they don't want to lose their jobs. Let's just read this. Vancouver Island Health Authority Financial Information Act. Schedule and remuneration expenses for employees receiving remuneration exceeding $75,000 a year. Right? The Vancouver, okay, so out of these 16,000 employees just for the island in 2007, which was 10 years ago, there were 1,512 people who earned more than $75,000 a year. Okay? And in 10 years ago, there was 923 nurses, mainly members of the British Columbia Nurses Union. 356 are non-contracted staff and physicians excluded from union membership. 205 are paramedics, mainly members of the Health Sciences Association of British Columbia. And 28 are members of other bargaining units. And then on this side is a whole list of names, and then on this side you can see remuneration, travel expenses. And it just goes on and on. Hold on a minute, people. This is where our tax dollars go. That's just their wages. That, it just goes on. There's like 31 pages. You can see on and on and on and on and on. So yeah, let me remind people that it's not about healthcare. It's not, people. Because if it was about healthcare, my daughter would be getting proper healthcare. But because there is no income attached to her, unlike Uncle John, where they could take that money and redirect it into their healthcare system, because it's their healthcare system. It does not belong to the public, because if it belonged to the public, people, my daughter would be getting help. My daughter would be protected from the violence on the streets. But she's not. Instead, we got crack houses popping up over here and popping up over there as people are being forced out of their house, or they sell their house, or whatever it is, and then the new buyers bring in the crack houses. Because we've got another one on this block. I'm not mentioning where it is, because I'm not drawing attention to it, but let's just say there's a crack house that just moved into the neighborhood. Now, isn't that interesting? You can buy houses to bring in crack houses, but you can't even rent a house to house the homeless. You can't even rent a house to help the ones that are out on the streets just to stabilize with their lives, right? Unlike Uncle John, who was medically kidnapped, put into a hammock, had a bunch of drugs forced down his throat so he'd sleep on the ferry, and then when he got across on the water, he woke up, and then all of a sudden, it's an emergency situation. They got him in an emergency because now it's an emergency situation because his lung infection all of a sudden came back. And God forbid, look at the state that he's in. Look how we found him. This is how his sisters and these social workers and these other healthcare professionals that make that kind of money that I just showed you, people, 31 pages of over $75,000 a year being paid out in wages, not including their pension plans, their superannuation life insurance policies, their dental plans, their healthcare plans, and their disability plans, their vacation plans, and their expenses. John was in the healthcare system for 43 days before they transferred him. And they only transferred him in the manner that they did because they got scared because we were talking about getting a lawyer. They were spying on us. They were conniving. They were conspiring. Right? Because they have a lot to lose in a provincial budget sense. And of course, we know I'm not doing this right. Right? They'll be like, you wrote too much. It's too much information. No judge is going to read any of that. Right? Because it's too close to the truth, and we don't want the truth to get out. Right? Right? Because there's too much money involved. We need Uncle John's money, people. They need Uncle John's money in order to be able to prop up the healthcare system. Because the system is an albatross in terms of the unions, right? It's the union people, on average, that work for the government that cause the most harm in communities because they have to prop up their $3.5 billion fucking budgets. That's why these healthcare facilities are paid for by the user. John pays at least $1,700 a month to get his ass wiped once a day. Okay? And because Sierra can't pay for that, she gets the streets. And if she gets murdered, they're going to blame her for being a drug addict. Even though they turned Uncle John into a drug addict in order to control him. So that they could have their wages and their traveling expenses. Right? Did his sister write off her traveling expenses to Vancouver? Huh? That bitch is so fucking shady. I wouldn't be surprised if she didn't write off her fucking ferry ride back and forth to steal John and had the taxpayers pay for it. Okay? This is where your tax dollars are going, people. So the next time you walk by a homeless person, you really need to stop and think. Because if you got any assets, these people that do this shit, they're going to have their eyeballs on you. Another thing they didn't follow here, people. For all John's confusion. Oh, he's confused. He's confused. No, that was just a ruse, people. That was just a ruse so that they didn't have to follow the fucking rules. Right? Because they got shady people in there doing insider trading practices. Right? John was the bone for the corrupt nurse. For the corrupt sister who now is scoping out those halls wherever she goes along with the rest of her fucking friends looking for their next victim. Okay, so it's just one of these moments that this is where people take advantage of the situation. Right? We know that under the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedom, legal rights, Uncle John lost his rights. And then there's such a thing as called the Constitution Act of 1982. Right? And then we've got Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. I am just going to include these people because as soon as they started messing with our bank accounts, this was broken. Okay? They went in there and just started doing what they wanted to do with Uncle John's bank account and proceeded to do what they wanted to do with me. As they hid him away in a dungeon where he got sick, was injured. He was sick for 3 months, injured, and lost all his memory, people. Okay? Doesn't sound very constitutional to me. So anyway, just for things to talk about when it goes to court, as comparisons, the Charter of Rights and Child Welfare Law, Faculty of Law, Queen's University. This was a report done in 2004 regarding the ramifications of children being apprehended and who has rights and who don't in terms of children's rights. And being that they treat Uncle John like a child, they treated him like a child, they whisked him off, right? Created all this drama. But if you notice, they just wanted to avoid court, people. They really just thought that I was a dumb fuck and that I would put my tail between my legs, be completely humiliated, fall for the okie dokie, and go away. As they could taunt me, stalk me, harass me, cyber stalk, threaten, right? And flag my healthcare file and any other file that they want to try and flag. Try and get me evicted from my home, right? Trying to make it so I lose my grandson. So anyway, this is, I'm going to add this. I'm going to add this, people. Okay, so the point of this is or was or is Uncle John confused or not confused? Back in the day, he was confused, right? Even the bank was confused. If you give us a note saying that he was confused by his family doctor, we'll reinstate power of attorney. Get off the phone, call him he calls me back 2 weeks later after he talks to the crooked sister. Well, if you give us a note saying that he wasn't confused, then we'll reinstate power of attorney. Which one was it? Was he confused or not confused? They avoided taking over Uncle John's assets through the Mental Health Act. They did not access the public guardian and trustee. They did not take me to court personally. What they did is they did insider trading practices with the bank based on the seniority of a corrupt nurse who corrupted all those other employees in that long list of remunerations and their expenses being paid. Birds of a feather will flock together. So anyway, Charter of Rights of Child Welfare Law. I'm including this because since they treated Uncle John like he was a child, then I think this would be very good because he lost all his rights, people. He had basically no human rights, even though we have human rights law. Doesn't that look familiar, people? The 60s scoop. Oh, I think we need to call it the year 2000 scoop. Only replace the word Aboriginal child with vulnerable elderly. Okay? Because that's what we're talking about. An epidemic of Aboriginal child apprehension. Okay, from the 60s to 2000, and, to year 2000 and up, we're still having this problem, but this snatching of old people and their assets, detaining them, is becoming an epidemic. And this is why I'm not dropping the ball. Okay? I'm not dropping the ball on Uncle John. I'm not dropping the ball on my family. And I'm sure in the hell not going to be dropping the ball on the rest of these people that struggle with what my family's going through, including with Uncle John, what he's struggling with. Okay? If they did it in the 60s with vulnerable children, minorities, I'm telling you, people, they're still doing it. Only now they're going after the old people who, in today's term, have the most assets, the most education, because they came up in a time where job security was rampant, right? With government jobs and pension plans, and they could afford to buy housing, just the whole 9 yards. So this elderly baby boom coming in for the next 20 years is a very vulnerable population group, just like the Aboriginal people 100 years ago were a targeted group as a very vulnerable group. So tell me, what judge doesn't want to talk about this kind of stuff? Being that the taxpayers pay these people to sit there and to discuss it, right? In terms of laws, acts, rules, regulations, just the whole 9 yards, right? Okay, people. So now it's October 27th, 2017. You can see what's going on here. Right? So now I'm taking out the tomatoes. I'm putting them straight up in a bag, and I'm freezing them whole. Basically, it's much more simpler. Obviously that one didn't make it. That's why you kind of want to leave not too many in the box. The more you leave them like that, the better it is. Hold on. Okay, so as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fairly large bags, right? And then just a few green ones, whatever. That's all going in the freezer. Just go like that, put the whole box into the freezer. Take out as you need. Here, these ones aren't quite ready yet, and neither are those ones. So, hold on. Okay, so moving along, as you can see, 30% off, right? So that's a pretty good deal. It's just liver. It's okay. I need to bring up my iron count. Kids like liver. So, anyway, I'm going to be opening up these packages. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. At least 9. Okay, people, so if you don't have a... Okay, put it in the pot here. So, if you don't have what is that thing called? I can't even think right now. Take out the air. I have one, but for this is so small, I don't feel like using it right now. But anyway, this is what you can do. You take your food, you put it in a bag.
Put it in the water.
Yeah, you start closing it, the bag, and then you just push everything
in the water.
Yeah, and what that does is the pressure of... Don't drop the camera. What happens is the pressure in the water pushes out the air.
Yeah.
So, as you can see, it's a vacuum seal. It's a vacuum seal without the vacuum sealer.
Oops.
Right? So, and the more you can take out air, can you see?
Yeah.
The more you can take out air from the food before you freeze it, the longer it lasts. in terms of can last for years if there's no air in it, because it doesn't become freezer burnt. Right? So that's what I'm doing here. Right?
Yeah, and I'm dressed like a dog.
You're dressed like a dog, right? For Halloween, eh? Okay, so alright, you can turn it off now. Okay, turn it. See, pretty simple. As for dinner later, I'm almost tempted to go back to Safeway just to get out of the house. I'm catching up with another headache here. And go see if I can go find something else. Hold on. Okay, so I went back to the store. You can see what I do. I always look for that. Sometimes you get 30% off, sometimes 50% off. Right? It all starts to add up, people. These were $2 a pack. It's just chicken wieners, so that's okay. Andre doesn't mind that. Here's some salmon ends for $2. That's not too bad. That's nice with butter. And then just a little bit of pork that I'm going to break up 2 packs here for some potato soup. Hold on. So that's not so bad. And then I got 3 more of these too. So $3.50 or so, right? $3.75.